Okay, hello and welcome to Teach Online TV. My name is Tyler Basu, and today I am joined by Sunny Lenarduzzi, who's actually in Vancouver, where we're based, which is pretty cool. She has been for the past decade a video, social media brand strategist. She's worked with a lot of big brands. She's worked with entrepreneurs, course creators, video marketers, and she's been featured on all the big places you can be featured. Entrepreneur, the Huffington Post, Social Media Examiner. In fact, she was named one of the top 50 must-follow women entrepreneurs in 2017 by the Huffington Post. And she recently launched a course. So we're going to chat about that process that you went through of creating and launching your course. We'll chat about branding, video marketing, and I'm excited to get all these tips from you today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
So I know I gave away a little bit of those highlights there, but can you just take a moment or two to tell us how you got into this space? Why did you go down this path?
Yeah, I feel like it's been such a funny journey for me, but I started in broadcasting, so I was a reporter, and my big goal was to report at the 2010 Winter Olympics. I did it. And then when I got there and was reporting every day, I kind of realized that as much as it was a dream of mine, it didn't really feel as good as I thought it was going to feel. And it felt like I was sort of being micromanaged, and I was being told what to say, what to wear, how to say it, where to be, and it just didn't sit well with me. And so I kind of knew I wanted to do my own thing, and I wanted to create something that was going to be more in the realm of new media, where I could actually talk to people one-to-one, and I wasn't just broadcasting a message at people. So I dove into my first business the day I came home from the Olympics, and it was an online magazine. I didn't know what I was doing, and I had about 10 people writing for the magazine, and we used video, we used YouTube to market it, we used social media. It was my first time ever really diving into social media for business, and I learned everything on my own, and I loved it. I just loved the fact that you could actually talk to your readers and your customers and build these really genuine relationships, and the longevity of those relationships. It wasn't like people would read once and then be done with you, because you'd maintain the relationship through social media. So from building the brand strictly through social media, I had a lot of companies in Vancouver, and then eventually all over the place, come to me and say, we've seen what you've done building your brand with social, and we're hoping you can do the same for our business. So I started a consultancy, and I worked with a bunch of different businesses in all these different spaces, and I, for 4.5 years, really didn't talk about what I did, and was just super happy to have clients and work from wherever I wanted to, and grow these brands and grow these businesses using social media, strictly social media. And then from there, one day I got to the point where I had so many clients that I was really burnt out, and I was finding it hard to answer their questions because I was getting the same questions over and over again. And so I was spending my time one-to-one answering them. And I mean, that is not the most efficient way to run a business, because I wasn't really able to actually work on their stuff. So one day I sat down and I decided I was going to do a video tutorial on how to use live streaming, because that was one of the biggest questions I was getting. And I was like, I'm just going to do this and only send it to my clients. I really didn't have any subscribers on YouTube at the time. And then the next thing I knew, I had a couple hundred views within the first day, and then 1,000 views within the first 24 hours, and then 80,000 views. And I was like, oh my God, where are these people coming from? And I realized that my video was being found in search. Obviously, it was ranking on page 1 of YouTube and on Google. And I was like, wow, I think I've really tapped into something here, and there's obviously a need for information on how to use social media for business and how to use video for business. So I just kept making tutorials every week for a year. I made a tutorial, and I'm still doing that. I just had my 2-year anniversary. And I mean, it's changed my life. It's changed my business. I went from scratch on YouTube to 50,000 subscribers in a year. I now have 80,000, and scratched to 3 million views in 12 months, and I'm now at 5 million. So out of that, I kind of discovered the whole online education space, and that led to me creating my first course, which was about a year and a half ago now. And since then, I've created 2 other courses. So it's been a really fun journey and a huge learning curve, but I love it. And I'm so I'm so excited about the online education space and how many people you can reach and help. And yeah, super, super stoked about how things are going.
No, that's a really exciting journey, and I can definitely see the progression from working one-on-one and then realizing, there's only so much time you have each day, answering the same questions each day. So you decided to put some videos online. Those got a lot of traction. In fact, your YouTube channel has received all kinds of accolades and recommendations. Lots of people see your YouTube channel as a resource, especially for video marketers. And then the transition into online courses. So at what point did it make sense for you to make the first course? Was there anything that prompted, the shift from just putting free videos out there to then creating an actual digital product to sell to people?
I think it really was just a matter of, again, being able to reach a much bigger audience, and really in the same vein of my YouTube channel and how that started, understanding that it was a way easier way to scale my business than continuing to work with people one-on-one. The wonderful thing about YouTube is that because my reach grew so fast and there's people all over the world that were discovering me every single day, and that's possible for anybody who uses the platform the right way, I was getting people from all over the world saying, hey, can I work with you? Hey, can I work with you? So very similar to how I started my YouTube channel, I was like, okay, I can't possibly take all of these clients on as one-to-one clients. So how can I reach more people and help more people and still provide a really high level of guidance and mentorship and content? And so I was like, courses, that's the answer. So that's really what created the shift for me is scalability.
Okay, cool. And what was the process of creating that first course like? What kind of training was in there? What sort of equipment and steps involved? How did you choose what to teach? If you could just walk us through some of the steps you took.
So I focused on what I know I'm good at and what I was getting a lot of gratitude for, which I think is a big key when you're creating any sort of paid product, is what are the things that that resonate the most with your audience. And for me, obviously, it was social video, and the fact that I hadn't just mastered YouTube, but it was that I'd spent 5 years studying the platform as well, and I'd really figured out how to use all of them for business, from Snapchat to Twitter to Facebook to Instagram to YouTube to live streaming. So the first course is called Recording for Revenue. And the process of making it was a disaster. It was a nightmare, and it was great because I learned so much, and my team learned so much, and it was painful to create it. But once we did, we were like, okay, if we can get through that, we can do anything. So it was just that it was such a hard platform that we had built it on. It wasn't Thinkific, and it was a lot of different integrations and making sure everything worked with everything else, and it just is hard. So we created it. We launched it strictly using social media and YouTube. I didn't do any paid advertising at all, and I launched my email list as well, brought on hundreds of customers and thousands of dollars in revenue for the business. And I was like, okay, this is how it works. This is great. It was my first venture into it. And yeah, it was a huge learning process, but it's definitely benefited me moving forward in the other courses I've created.
Right. So how has the process changed then? Because you've now done 3 courses now, and the most recent one. What was the what was it like creating the most recent course? What went into the content, setting up the online course, and let's talk a little bit about the marketing afterwards as well.
Yeah, I think the marketing factor has been our biggest differentiator for sure. But so YouTube for Bosses was the most recent course, and Recording for Revenue actually got upgraded basically into this monster course that's called Boss Video Branding. And we host both of those courses on Thinkific. But YouTube for Bosses, creating that course it was night and day from creating my first course. We outsourced the video part of it, so I shot them and I created the decks and all of that stuff, and obviously the information, but we had an editor who put them together. We outsourced a lot of the more tedious tasks within creating the course, and it just was a much more streamlined process. And so creating the course is actually probably the smoothest and the easiest part of it. And then when it came to marketing, we just really were like, you know what? we have such a great audience at our fingertips that is super engaged, and we give them so much free content, and we really listened to what they wanted. So I survey my audience a lot, and I surveyed my audience about what they needed when it came to YouTube, and the information and answers we got back directly guided how we created the course. So it's a 4-hour crash course. It's not one of these massive courses that takes you like a year to get through. It's a 4-hour crash course. You can go start to finish through the whole thing in 4 hours and know exactly what you need to know to rank on page 1 of YouTube. And that was something that kept coming up. It was like, I want to just be able to get through it, get what I need, and put it into action. And we were like, okay, cool, we're going to create a crash course then. So we created it, and then the marketing of it was super fun because we, again, did not do paid advertising, really. We spent maybe a couple $100 on remarketing. The bulk of our advertising was through setting up a live stream boot camp within my group, which is the Be Our Own Boss Mastermind group. So we did 2 weeks of live training, 10 days of live training, and every day we were teaching a different tip about YouTube. And for the first week, it was just straight value. So we were just teaching a tip a day about YouTube. And answering questions live within the group. And prior to doing the live streams, we actually sent out an email to our list saying, we're going to be doing this. Sign up for your content count or for your class schedule. So we had an opt-in, a free opt-in that people could sign up through our email list to get the calendar that gave them the class times every day for the live training. So not only were we building our group by funneling people in there, we were also building the list by getting people to opt in for that. And so then we did the live trainings. We did the first week, it was straight value. And then on the 6th day of training, we did the Boss YouTube strategy, and it was about a half an hour training. And then we pitched the program, and we had a 90% conversion rate,
wow,
which is nuts. But I truly believe that was the case because we harvested the community. We created value for a week. Yeah. We prepped and primed them. We told them what the price was going to be. We told them exactly what the course was, so they knew it was coming and they were prepared for it. And they had set aside the finances to be able to invest in it. So I believe that those are big factors as to why we had such a high conversion rate. And I think another thing too, and this is something that I've noticed in the online space, is that we don't just produce content and create value when we have something to sell, because a lot of the times that's a launch plan, and that's great, and like do the trainings and then strategically open up cart and all that stuff. But I mean, I'm doing a YouTube video every week, regardless of if I'm selling something or not. I'm doing live trainings whenever I can, and I'm creating content on all my platforms at all times. And I think that's a really important factor that a lot of people forget about, is you constantly need to be creating content and constantly need to be building your community. And then when you do have something to sell, people are like, yes, awesome, you finally have something to sell. I'll buy it. I'm in. So that was a big part of why it did so well as well.
Yeah, that's great advice. And so did you end up closing the cart for the course launch, or is this something that people can buy ongoing? And if so, what have you got set up to ensure those ongoing sales?
So we did close cart.
Okay.
So we opened it in December for a week. We closed cart and then actually opening it again in about 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks time. We're opening it again, and it will be it'll be on an ongoing basis. So we're really excited to open it again because we have a pretty long wait list of people that want to get in.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about building your audience and adding value to an audience and putting content out there regularly. And you've been doing that for several years, and which is part of the reason why so many people like you and trust you and are excited to buy from you when you come out with something. And for you, video has been like the primary form of content that you're putting out there.
Totally.
So I'm just curious, compared to the other forms of content, like putting out articles or doing a podcast or, whatever it may be, what do you think are the advantages that video has over the other forms of content?
Well, I think the main advantage, there's so many different advantages to each of the platforms and using video on each of the platforms, and that's what our big course, Boss Video Branding, talks about. It's the overall strategy and also teaching you how to use each video platform and grow your following there. But I think the biggest benefit is specifically YouTube, is that it's evergreen. I call it an evergreen traffic machine, meaning that you produce content. It's not, you don't need to make timely content, because timely content isn't something that's going to always drive traffic. So we create tutorials, or I create tutorials that I know people are going to be searching for a very long time, i.e. how to grow your following on Instagram, how to get more views on YouTube. These are things that people are constantly searching for, so I'm constantly getting views on my videos and then leveraging those views to drive traffic to my website. So that's why, for me, video is such a game changer. And it's been a huge, I know, because I'm in the space, the fact that we've been able to launch 2 courses to warm traffic and not spend really any money on advertising is very unheard of in this space. So, of course, we've leveraged Facebook ads for Boss Video branding and for some other things, but being able to have a profitable audience already, because we've spent the time building those relationships and creating the value, and we consistently do that, makes a huge difference in your business, and makes a huge difference as to how much you're going to have to spend on Facebook advertising, and also what your conversion rates are going to look like, and if they're going to be higher or lower, depending on how much people already know, like, and trust you.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So if somebody is, just getting into creating video, is it difficult to get started? I mean, like, what kind of setup do you have to produce high quality videos? What's your process like?
Well, I always say it's the value of the content that's the most important. So people get really hung up, and I was one of them, on having the perfect lighting and the set and the audio and all of that stuff. But the irony is that I used to shoot videos about a year before I shot my first tutorial, and I would put so much effort into them. Like, the first time I created one of them, it was 8 hours of filming. It was exhausting, and I was like, I'm not even getting views on these, and I wasn't. But the reason was nobody was searching for those topics. And so the moment I started making tutorials, I actually did it on a whim, because I really was only sending it to my clients. And so I've told this story before, but when I sat down to make that first tutorial, I hadn't washed my hair that day. I was basically in my pajamas. I sat on my couch in my living room. I just sat in front of the window in my apartment and had a webcam, and that was it. And that's the video that took off. So I really do believe that it's not about the quality of your camera or your equipment. It's about the value of the content you're creating and how much you're actually going to answer people's questions or solve people's problems. And that's true of really so many different videos on YouTube. If you look, there's videos that have millions of views that were shot on an iPhone.
Yeah, right, like
in a jar. Really, you know what I mean? Yeah. I highly recommend that you don't get hung up on the quality of your equipment at the beginning. Okay. So for a year, I filmed my videos on my webcam. It was like an $80 webcam, Logitech C920. It's a great camera. And I had a Rode record mic that I just plugged into my computer. And I used a stack of books as my tripod. And then I edited the videos on iMovie. So I really do believe you just need to start with what you have.
Okay. So the content, quality of your content, and authenticity, I guess, trump whatever type of equipment that you might need.
Totally.
Now, search engine optimization is a big topic, especially with video. And YouTube, if I'm not mistaken, is the second largest search engine in the world.
It is.
And so to have a video ranking on Google and on YouTube is a big deal. You can get a lot of traffic that way, a lot of exposure. Yeah. And you obviously have a whole course on this, but are there 1 or 2 tips you can share in terms of helping just to make sure that our video does actually rank for that topic that we're trying to teach?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest tips is scripting your videos. So we do a whole section on this in YouTube for bosses, but the really quick tip is that because a lot of people are going to discover you through search and they won't know who you are, i.e. for me, nobody's going to YouTube and typing in Sunny Lenarduzzi. They're typing in how to get more views on YouTube, how to grow your Twitter following, how to grow your Instagram following, and then I happen to pop up. So when they discover me and when they click on my video, if I'm sitting there and spending 2 minutes explaining who I am and what I do and why they should be watching, people will tune out because there's a million other people who are answering that question. So it's really important when you script your videos to have like a 5 to 10 second intro max. Okay. And just say, hey, I'm Sunny Lenarduzzi from sunnylenarduzzi.com. Today, this is what I'm going to teach you. So give them the outcome of the video almost immediately so that they do stay tuned in. ranking is retention. People need to watch your entire video in order for Google and YouTube to say, hey, that's quality content. We should rank that really high. And then I think the other thing is, too, because people are discovering you and they don't know of you beforehand, for the most part, it's important to leverage your traffic. So you don't want people watching your video and then going, okay, that was great, bye, and I forget about you. So it's important to have a conversion site that you're driving people to. If you're an offline business, give them your phone number, give them your website, give them your email address, give so that they can go from the video to being a potential customer. For an online business, give them a free checklist, guide, cheat sheet, add them to your email list, drive them to your website, do a free 15-minute consultation. Whatever you can do to leverage that traffic and turn it into a potential customer database is vital to the growth of your business.
Okay, great tips. So, Sunny, I've just got a couple more minutes with you, and I have a few more questions here. You're sharing so many good tips, by the way. I really appreciate this.
Thank you.
Now, you mentioned that you've set up your courses on Thinkific, and I'm just curious, when you were searching for different platforms to use, what was it about Thinkific that you liked most, and what's your experience been like with the platform so far?
Well, it actually came through a recommendation from one of my friends who's created courses with you as well, and I was so happy that you're in Vancouver, because most companies I work with are not in Vancouver, they're mostly in the States, so it was just so great to have a company that and I think the consistent theme and what I tell everybody when I say to go to Thinkific, because I really do think you guys are the best in the business, I say that your customer service is hands down the best, meaning that you guys actually care, and you are there to answer questions when I need an answer. And I think why that's been even more obvious to me is when I launched my first course, and it was just a painful process when we had an issue. It would take 3 days, 4 days to get a response back, and in this space, you can't do that because customers will say, I'm not getting what I want, it's glitchy or whatever, I want a refund. So you're losing money, and time really is money. So you guys have done such an incredible job of being accessible and having the best customer service, really, out of any company that I work with.
That's awesome. I appreciate the feedback. I'll pass it on to the support team.
Awesome.
Now you've been sharing your knowledge. You've been putting out content, creating courses, consulting, speaking, doing all kinds of things to share what you know with others. And I'm just curious, what kind of an impact would you say that's had on your life? Like, how is your life different now, doing what you're doing now compared to what you were doing before? And if there's any part of that can help inspire somebody else who has expertise and wants to share their knowledge but isn't quite doing so yet.
Right. Well, I've said before YouTube changed my life, and I really do mean that. And I think if I look at my life now versus 2 years ago, and that's the crazy thing, too, is like a lot has happened in 2 years. Like an exponential amount of things has happened in 2 years. And it's because I decided to start. Like it's because I kind of accidentally fell in backwards to making tutorials, being found by thousands upon thousands and now millions of people. And I always say that, I'm like, what would it do for your business if you were found by 3 million people in a year? I went from working with 10 clients usually at a time to being known and found by 3 million people, and that changed my business and changed the demand for what I do, and has led to me being paid to travel and speak all over the world, and working with some amazing companies and growing my customer base and student base by a ton. And I think the thing that drives me every day is like and that I'm going to leave the planet having helped a lot of people. So the more people that I can help, and the bigger reach I can have with what I do, and inspiring people to be their own boss in whatever way that takes form, that's really what I wake up for in the morning. And that's what drives me, and that's what creating online courses has been able to do for me, because I've been able to help so many more people than if I were to sit down one-to-one and work with people.
No, that's amazing. So last question for you, Sunny. If we could leave the viewers with just one last piece of advice. These are people who are building their brands, building their online course businesses. Is there a big mistake they should avoid or something they should do right? Any lesson that you'd like to pass on to them?
I think my best lesson for anything in your business is listen. Listen as much as you can. Pay attention to the verbiage people use around what they want and need from you. Use that in your marketing, and just really, like, I know this isn't like a tip necessarily, but just like care. I care a lot about your community, and be consistent and create content on a regular basis that's going to help people, and you will build a tribe of people that are so ready and willing to be customers of yours for life. So listen and really show that you care about your community at all times.
That's awesome. Well, Sunny, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure. And your new course, YouTube for Bosses, if anyone wants to check that out, definitely go and have a look and see what it's all about. I highly recommend it. And your website, Sunny Lenarduzzi, which I'll link to in the show notes below the video. Is that the best place that people can find you and get in touch with you?
I mean, you can also find me on YouTube, but the best place to find me is sunnylenarduzzi.com. And then if you go to the Work With Me page, you'll find all of my resources, free resources, as well as courses there as well.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks again, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you so much.